Hi, my name is Leticia Barbero. I'm a Cooperative Institute employee at the Atlantic Oceanographic and Meteorological Laboratory from NOAA in Miami, Florida. And I'm going to be talking to you about some of the OA work we're doing in the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. This addresses the research to understand OA vulnerabilities from the Ocean Acidification Program. And its purpose is to develop and implement a program for monitoring carbon cycle related oceanographic parameters in US waters. And in order to do this, OAP funds our lab through 3 sustained investment projects, our synoptic cruises, our surface ocean measurements, and modeling. And I'm going to talk briefly about all 3 of them. So our synoptic cruises have been funded since 2007. We cover the East Coast and the Gulf of Mexico. After our 2012 cruise, it became obvious that we needed to expand our measurements further north along the East Coast and into the Gulf of Mexico. So since 2015, the cruises have been split into 2 components. The East Coast cruise goes from South Florida all the way up into Canadian waters, and the Gulf of Mexico cruise expands into Mexican waters, and the input and outflow seen here. These cruises are conducted according to GoShip standards of quality, so we provide climate quality data sets. We compile the data, and we add a very extensive metadata along with it that we submit to the NOAA National Centers for Environmental Information, NCEI. And what you see here on the right-hand side is an example of the GOMEC3 data submission. And you can see that there's a way to cite it. It's easily accessible and can be used by a variety of users. I want to highlight this paper here just because I don't have time to go into a lot of detail for other papers. I like this paper that was published recently in Nature Communications by my colleague Wenjun Chai at the University of Delaware, because it incorporates all the data from the different cruises that OAP has funded over the years. So it has our data, but it also has data from the West Coast OA cruises, the Alaska cruises, etc. And the kind of like weird plots that you see here on the left-hand side, they're a way of showing the data collected over the years. So for example, here on the East Coast, you see the 2007 data, 2012 data, 2015 data. So the purpose of our paper was to take a look at the factors controlling the carbonate chemistry along the US coastal waters. If we focus on the Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico, the aragonite saturation state and the DSC were controlled by the partial equilibrium with the atmosphere, meaning that they kind of followed the increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, whereas pH and PCO2 seem to be controlled by local physical and biological processes. On the Pacific coast, the upwelling of waters with low pH and the subsequent biological utilization of these waters was a main controlling factor. Moving on to our Ships of Opportunity or SUP-OA project, we are leveraging here decades of expertise from our lab. Our group have led the community effort to build what is now considered the gold standard in instruments for the measurement of surface PCO2 in the water. That's the system here. We transitioned this technology to a local company based in Miami, Florida called General Oceanics. And that's actually the building that you see here. And General Oceanics has since sold over 100 systems worldwide. And you can see the distribution of customers here on this panel on the right. So keeping our focus on the East Coast, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Greater Caribbean, the Ocean Acidification Program funds our systems in 2 NOAA fisheries ships, the Gordon Gunter and the Henry Bigelow. They operate mostly along the East Coast and the Northern Gulf of Mexico. The NOAA Ocean Observing and Monitoring Division also funds our group to maintain systems on a variety of other ships, including a cargo vessel, the Ansky Selphos, that works in northeast waters here, and 2 cruise liners from Royal Caribbean collecting data in the Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean region. This data is regularly submitted to SOCAT and is used for a variety of studies, including ocean carbon sink, ocean acidification, sensor, and model validation. Here I'm going to present results from a recent paper by one of our postdocs at AOML, Yuan Xu. And this was published, I think, in June of 2020. And Yuan used a Bayesian neural network, which is a machine learning approach, to study the patterns in the surface carbon chemistry in the Mid-Atlantic Bight, or MAB, in green here on the left, and the South Atlantic Bight in yellow here in this plot. And then she used the trained algorithms to fill in the large observational gaps and to build a reconstructed time series data from the 1980s to 2018, and take a look at the carbon chemistry parameters. Now, this reconstructed data set shows that the rate of increase in FCO2 in the MAB is faster than in the SAB. And also they had a station here offshore for both regions, and the rate of increase in the coastal areas was higher than in the open ocean for both. In terms of pH, the rate of acidification was faster in the MAB than in the SAB. The long-term carbonate variations that were observed in the SAB were controlled mostly by atmospheric CO2 increase, whereas in the MAB, they were modified significantly by variations in salinity, meaning that different physical processes that brought different water masses affected conditions. If we look at aragonite saturation state in these two subregions, undersaturation will occur first in the MAB, where both the seasonal amplitude and the change in this amplitude over time is larger than in the SAB. Either way, in both cases, undersaturation will be observed here before it's observed in the nearby coastal regions. Going into our modeling component, our group has been working with a ROMS model that incorporates a MOM topaz biogeochemistry module. And what you see here is a paper that was recently published in Biogeosciences. It's been validated against our SUP measurements, but also against our Gulf of Mexico OA cruises, which is what you see here on the right-hand side, where you can see in red our station measurements, and in blue, the monthly averaged values that are output from the model. In terms of surface PCO2, the results indicate that the seasonal changes were strongly correlated with temperature across most of the Gulf of Mexico basin, with the exception of the Mississippi Atchafalaya River system region, where runoff largely controls the changes in the SC and in alkalinity and hence in PCO2. Finally, I want to talk about our ocean acidification product suites. It's an operational product that's also funded by OAP. And this tool utilizes satellite data and a data assimilative hybrid model to map the components of the carbonate system of surface water in the greater Caribbean region on a monthly basis. And what I'm showing you here is a comparison between the initial product that we used a few years back on the left-hand side. And then over the last couple of years, we've improved the algorithms, validating them against our measurements. And you can see that in our current version, most of the artifacts that were present previously have disappeared. So this is the same month with the first iteration of our OA product suite, and on the right-hand side, the one we're using currently. So with this in mind, what are our key takeaways? The natural variability in the region plays a role on an interannual scale. Different water masses are going to change the carbonate chemistry. We also have observed sub-regional differences and also differences between these subregions and the nearby coastal areas. With this in mind, we need more open ocean and more nearshore measurements so that we can connect the end members correctly to characterize OA in the region. SUP OA data has proven to be essential for model training and validation, and our synoptic cruises continue to be the only way to collect a climate quality data set of subsurface measurements in the region. Looking forward, we are going to pay more attention into what co-stressors are acting along with OA. A particular focus will be on HAPS and hypoxia. We want to know what the situation is in the nearshore and estuarine environments. We're working on extending our sampling sites, including through collaboration with National Park Services. And to address the need to increase open ocean measurements, we're looking into deploying BGC Argo floats in the Gulf of Mexico. Thank you very much.